What is up, everyone? Welcome to Inspired Action, where we talk about resources and tips and strategies and great resources for small business owners. And every week when we do this show, we make sure that we're sharing actionable tips that you can actually do, like some great takeaways, so that it actually helps you grow your business. So I'm so excited because every week I invite a new guest on to share their great tips that they have. And today I am joined by Melissa Herman. She is the associate editor of 4 Story Media Group that publishes Boca newspaper and the Delray newspaper. Thank you so much for being here.
Thanks for having me. Hi guys. Hi Facebook, YouTube, live stream world.
What's up? We are live streaming for the first time on Facebook and YouTube. So I was like, Marissa, will you be my first guest, like just in case?
So hopefully you can catch us on all platforms.
Yeah. So, all right, we're so excited. I'm really excited about today's topic because a lot of small business owners, especially in this social media world, they want to get press. They want to get featured, and there's still a lot of value in getting featured in your local publications.
Absolutely.
It gives you a lot of great exposure for your business. And so Marissa's going to share some tips on how to do that, because I know you see a lot of people doing it wrong, maybe not as effective as we could be. So you deal with pitches all the time.
I get hundreds of emails a day, and some of them are from big PR firms, some of them are from the mom and pop down the street, some of them are just from someone who saw their neighbor doing something cool and they think it deserves a story. So we get all sorts of emails and phone calls, and I'll share the best way to reach the right person to get your story shared. So I'm going to take you guys a little bit back to school. With the start of school, I think everyone remembers the 5 W's. So you can kind of use the 5 W's when you're pitching the media. The first one is who. Who are you, and who are you pitching? So there's a lot to do with the who, like who you are, what your story is, what you're trying to pitch, and who you're trying to pitch. Is it me, a local newspaper that comes out once a month? Is it the local news station that airs daily? Is it a daily newspaper? Is it a glossy magazine? Who are you trying to reach? That should be the first thing you decide. And it might be multiple who you are trying to reach.
Yeah, which would be specific to each person.
Correct. You might have something that's like, I own and rent glamorous yachts. You might want to reach a really glossy high-end magazine. You may also want to reach the local news because everybody watches TV. So go broad. It's not necessarily just picking one, but it is picking the right people. You may not necessarily pitch that to a local publication that covers farming or agriculture. It may just not make sense.
Well, do you see that a lot where people are just like spamming like all these people's inbox because they just say, oh, this is great news, I think it's great, and I'm just gonna...
Yes, knowing who you're pitching is so important, because otherwise it's gonna end up as a delete. Like, if I get something that's so far-fetched and just not something we cover at all, I don't even bother saying no thanks. Like, I just delete it. So you're wasting your time if you think like blast it out to every single person. You're gonna get ignored by a lot. It's better to focus on the ones that you actually think would be interested in your story.
Yeah, and it's so easy to do that now. Like, you can find them. Most reporters or publishers or editors or anything, they're on social media. They're on Twitter. They're on, you can find them.
Yeah, so once you decide what publications or what medium you're going, figure out who the right person to pitch is. So another who. Is it the reporter? Is it the editor? You don't want to just send an email to the publisher or the editor-in-chief. It's probably going to end up in the garbage, or if you're really lucky, they'll forward it on to the person who covers that. So if you know it's a story about Delray, find the Delray reporter. If you know it's a story about Boca, find the Boca reporter. If you know it's a story about business, find someone who covers business. Try to get it into the right person's hands, because if you send it to their editor, it might end up in the garbage, or it may, if they're having a good day, send it to the person that covers that city. So the who is like a huge part of getting your story to the right person.
And I hear a lot of people, a lot of those that are looking for stories, like, give them the story. Like, because if you know who you're pitching and you know the kinds of stuff that they write about, go to them with an actual
Correct.
thing.
So that brings us to the next, the what. What is your story? So once you find the who, the most important thing is the pitch. What are you pitching? Is it that you just made a $10 million donation? Is it that you're starting a new business? Is it that you sold your business? Is it that you just added 47 new jobs to your office? What is the story? And get to that main point right off the bat.
Yeah.
Don't start with, I was born on a cold day. Like, nobody cares.
Way back in
to the point.
2010.
Yes. So how we write news stories is you think that you're going to lose your reader by the 4th or 5th paragraph. So think of your pitch the same way. If you don't get the most important part out by the 1st or 2nd sentence almost, we get so many emails a day, it just gets lost in translation. So what is your story? And get that main point across super, super fast.
Okay, cool.
So
who, what? I feel like we know where this is going.
Yeah, so when is your story taking place? Is it tomorrow? Is it next month? Is it something that can be expanded upon the year? What's your time frame? When is it going on? Is it an event? That will also help you decide who to pitch. If it's happening tomorrow, you're gonna need a daily person to cover it. If it's something that has more of a shelf life, you can go monthly. If it's more of a feature, just about, your business is growing, it's expanding, then you can pitch to anybody. So knowing that time element is really important, and knowing the deadline of the publication is important. So now if you're trying to pitch me something today, we're right on the cusp of our deadline. So I might say I can hold it till next month. I might say I can try to squeeze it in. It depends how much flexibility we have and how much space we have left, but space fills up really quickly. So knowing things early is always best. If you know something's happening, get it to the person as soon as you can, because that when element is really important. And don't get discouraged if you do miss a timeline. We have online presence. So if we can't get it into print, we'll try to get it into our social, into our e-blast, into our online presence. So don't get super upset if they're like, well, you missed our print deadline. Like, there's usually another way to get your news out there.
And what do you feel about follow-up with people? So if they pitched you, like if they emailed you, do you like it if they maybe like tweet you to, or like try to get your attention that way?
Yeah, so if for some reason, if it is a local story that I get pitched, because I get a lot of crazy pitches from like Alabama and California, and those are like, we're on some national list, and I just delete those, and I don't feel bad about not responding because I know they're going to hundreds of other people too. But if it's local and it's just not something we would cover, I try to say it's out of our coverage area, or this isn't something we're interested in at this time, because it's important for the people pitching to know not to pitch me something similar again, or I really like this story, but you did just miss our deadline, and if you ever do something like this in the future, please let us know earlier. So if you are looking for feedback, ask that also in your email. Like, if you're not the appropriate person, like, who do you recommend? And again, some reporters and editors are nicer than others. Like, if I know something's not a fit for me, but I think someone I've crossed paths with would like it, I always refer people in their direction. Like, you meet a lot of people as you report, and I've worked at other places. So if it's not necessarily for me, I totally pass it on to a colleague somewhere else. But yeah, it's try to get their attention for sure, especially if it's a bigger like daily publication. Follow them on LinkedIn or Twitter. They're really big on that kind of stuff at some bigger newspapers. So tweet them and be like, great story for you. And everybody's like, stories typically end with a tagline with their email and their direct phone number. So don't be afraid to call either. But if you call, I'm always like, want to see it in writing and read it again later. So I'm probably just going to tell you to send me an email with the most important information, because we're busy people and we're not always at our desks. So if I answer my phone, I might be driving, I can't take notes, or add another story and I can't listen to your life story at that moment. So I'd say email is the most effective way to get through to a reporter, but it's okay to follow up with phone calls also. Okay,
yeah. I always hear like some people say never ever call me, but I think it depends on like how they've gotten in touch with you to begin with.
Yeah,
so
it does.
Start with like that information.
There's nothing wrong with calling a reporter. Just know, like, if you don't hear back, we're not always in our office, and not everyone puts their personal cell phones on the end of their tagline or their business card. So
I hate that on an email.
Yeah, it might be going to an office line, but And again, it depends on the person, how often they're checking their messages. Like, I know my voicemails go to my email, so I can just read them right away, which is convenient. But it depends, and it also depends sometimes on the age of the person pitching. Sometimes they're not as comfortable with email. A different generation, they think phone's more personal. There's nothing wrong with that. But email's key because you can get that important information across quickly, and we can decide quickly, like, to jump on it or to pass.
I feel like with anything, like in your daily business interactions with people, like, how are you providing value to somebody? How are you giving them something, like, not wasting their time? It's the same thing with, like, reporters, or if you want to pitch someone, it's almost like build that relationship, especially even like build that relationship before you're going to pitch them, so that they get to know you, they know who you are, they know kind of where you, like, especially local, like what you do for the community. This way, if you actually do decide to call them or get in touch with them, I bet you're like, oh my gosh,
I met you at this networking event, or I've seen your business, or I know who you are, you're a chamber member. So that familiarity definitely helps, and there's tons of businesses and nonprofits and organizations that business owners are in touch with that we've known from another story, and then they jump in with this organization and they're like, I'm now on the board of this, and we have this great initiative. And so you jump around covering, you know, them from their business life to their charitable life and social, you know, different things.
Yeah.
So the whole world interconnects. And then
especially local,
it's
just so crazy.
And that's where it gets to the last one, is the where's your event happening, and that also ties into locally, who are you pitching. If you're pitching me an event that's happening in Lake Worth, I'm probably not covering it. We cover Boca and Delray, and I'd say for me personally, those are the most amount of pitches I turn down, are ones that just, we really try to stick to that hyper local, in your backyard. And yes, there's tons of cool stuff happening in Lake Worth and in Boynton and in West Palm, but unless it's something so national or something so super exciting, we try to stick to just our 2 cities that we cover, because that's our brand and that's our identity. And that's the same way if you're going to go and pitch the Boca reporter on something in Boynton, they're going to be like, email my colleague who covers Boynton, not me, or they're just going to delete it. So knowing who and where and why and when, those are like the 5 things you should be asking yourself before you even send out an email or a phone call.
And put in the work. I mean, it's like, of course everybody wants to get that press, but sending just not really thinking through all of these things that we just talked about, and just like sending it and then just hoping and wishing that you're going to actually get contacted is just not the right strategy. Like with anything else, if you're trying to earn business, if you're trying to earn exposure, like, do the work.
So other details to include besides just those 5 key elements that you should be asking yourself and telling the reporter is also, once the reporter agrees to show up and they get there, what are you giving them to do? Who is going to be able to speak? Is it you? Or were you just the person coordinating the event? So you're maybe in charge of the marketing of your business. Well, is the CEO going to be there to talk about your new initiative? Because if they're not there, that might be fine. Do you have a point person who's willing to share all that information? Do you have, you know, you're pairing up with a charity for an event. Do you have someone from the charity who can speak, or a family that benefited from the event? It just makes for so much of a stronger story if you can guarantee that the reporter can speak to someone who's been impacted or is about to be impacted by something you're doing. If it's a new product you're launching, has someone experienced that new product? Get other voices in the story besides yourself saying this is so great. Because I'm sure it is, but it makes it so much more compelling to hear from other people, and by you making those people available for the press, that's like a key. I'm gonna show up to a story if I know I can talk to someone that you've made a difference in.
Yeah, and I feel like I know everybody thinks their business is
great,
story worthy and should be totally getting a lot of exposure, which is awesome, because that's why you do what you do. You love it so much, you're passionate, you believe that you're helping people or providing a service that everybody needs, and sometimes you just gotta like spin it, figure out a way to spin it.
What makes you stand out? Like, if you're inviting me to your ribbon cutting, every single business on the street has a ribbon cutting. I don't have time to go to every single ribbon cutting that happens. I get asked to go to them every single day, and I just don't care. But if your ribbon cutting is something that's just so spectacular because you're starting the next Google, tell me that why you're starting the next Google. What is so great? You know, you're opening a new tech, what are you doing that your neighbor's not doing?
Yeah.
Because that's what will flip the switch for me to say, oh, maybe I should go to this ribbon cutting, or I can't make it to the ribbon cutting, follow up with the CEO or with their marketing person to find out what their story really is.
So can you share some examples, like maybe like a what to do and not to do, like of like something that you've experienced, like when people pitched you and you're like, oh my gosh, no, or oh, that was actually really unique and different?
Yeah, so again, anytime that it has a story to tell, so if you're making a difference, if your product's making a difference or has directly impacted someone and that person can share their story, that is a winning story like every time. It doesn't have to be like a sappy story. It doesn't have to necessarily be like, you know, I changed this person's life and cured cancer. No. But just something where someone else has a voice and they're telling their story, that's going to win over every media every day, whether they can go live on camera, whether they can sit down with just a reporter for a print interview, whether they can have their picture taken. Someone that's telling a story is a story. It just is. And sometimes it's, you know, it is a CEO just telling their story about opening a new business or how they started and rose to the top. It's, as long as you have a person that can speak on a topic, that's like their first foot in the door. Yeah, like it's got to be something other than like, oh, I just opened a new business. Great, like anyone can go to the bank and take out a loan and open a business. Like, it's not that exciting. But if you're like, I, you know, had to save up every penny and had struggles, and you have some sort of element. I, you know, worked every day at my parents' store to be able to open my dream of this. Like, what is your backstory? How did you get to where you are? That's more compelling than just, yeah, like I had this idea and I did it. Okay, so did like a million other people in America. So know your backstory and don't think it's like too small or not significant enough, because it will resonate with somebody.
I like that. And I feel like it would be great to, if you know you're going to pitch the press, like share it with your friends or colleagues before, because I think that what I find is that most business owners, they don't see that gem that someone else sees.
Sure.
Like they just want to pitch, oh, this is great. And then when you actually get to talking to them, I'm like, that's the story.
Right, like I would have never known this about this person. That's the like nugget that a reporter's looking for. Like cracking into that. What makes you the person you are, or how did you really get here? And you have to be willing to open up too. If you're not willing to like share that backstory of overcoming something, or you know, maybe it is just a success story. Like I came from a really wealthy family and I use that to my benefit. You know, if you're not willing to share that information, then you're not ready to even have an interview, because you have to be willing to really share a lot and answer tough questions. So, and then some nots to do. Don't overpromise. Like if you're like, oh, we're having this great event to our new product launch, and you're saying that, you know, Giancarlo Stanton's gonna be there, and J-Lo, and you know, Bernie from the Miami Heat's gonna, and then like you get TV would go wild for that kind of stuff, and then they show up with all their crews and it's lame.
Oh
like,
gosh.
Yeah, you've just burned your media bridges forever. So don't overpromise. Don't say, oh, so-and-so is definitely going to be here to speak when it's like unconfirmed. Obviously.
Because I sent them an invitation in the mail.
Yeah.
And who wouldn't want to come to this?
They never answered. Right. So like, don't overpromise. Obviously, like if someone's scheduled to speak and they cancel or they get held up, stuff like that happens. But don't overpromise something that you know is not going to happen, because you're really going to burn your bridges there. Because the most frustrating thing for a reporter is showing up and the people that they were told they could speak to aren't there, or something with the event changes or moves and they're never told. Then they're scrambling to call their editor to say, oh my God, that 15-inch story you're holding for me is not going to happen. And then they're scrambling to find something else for the rest of the day. So be considerate of their time when you're pitching them, and just don't overpromise.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for sharing these tips.
Thanks, Live World.
Yeah. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you have any topics or things that you're really interested on, please comment and let us know. And if you have any questions for Marissa, then
you can hit me up on Facebook, you can friend me, you can write on the Delray Boca newspaper Facebook pages, you can email me at Marissa with one S, Marisa at fourstory, FOURSTORYMG.com, Marissa at fourstory.mg.com.
Awesome. Thank you so much. So if you have anything happening in Delray or Boca,
let me know. You might end up in the paper.
Bye guys. See you next time.